All right, everyone. Welcome to the Mother Hustler podcast. I'm your host, Kareen Mills, and I am so honored and graced today by this beautiful, awesome, amazing, badass woman,
Why, thank you.
Teresa Rodden. And I met Teresa, for those of you that says that a lot of people discount the Chamber of Commerce, but it's really who you meet there and how you and social media is amazing at the staying in touch without staying in touch, right?
Right.
Because you just start connecting with people, and I could see your post and see what you're doing. And I've been watching you very closely, and the things that you're just doing with writing your book called Holy Sober.
Yeah.
I love that title. It's amazing. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my absolute honor and privilege to be talking with you, Kareen. And I love what you're doing. You're inspiring women to take charge of their lives. And I'm all about that.
Thank you. And, like you and I talked before we recorded here, but it's been taking me a long time. I know what I wanted, but it's been taking me a long time to really organize everything.
Mm-hmm.
And to really be 100% that this is the path I want to take. And sure, as you too, as we were talking about it earlier here before we record, but I'm really excited because I think it's been, 10 years that we haven't really sat down and talked to each other and really dove deep into what you are doing to make a difference in the world. Because I truly believe that every individual were created to change the world. It's just that there's specific individuals in life like yourself that really take on that challenge. So take us through this whole entire journey that you are just going through with from you realizing, okay, this is not my path. This is where I'm going, but what I'm doing is not where I want to be.
Well, and I will take you from the beginning, but the important thing to understand here is that all of it was necessary.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, the message I hope that your listeners receive is that, listen to that little voice inside you, listen to that heartbeat that's saying there's something else. Because if I wouldn't have, a lot of women wouldn't be thriving today in a sober world. And so it goes back to when I first got sober in 2003. I knew I wanted to change women's lives. And I knew the way to do that was to help them understand how amazing they were. But the only way to get a woman really to listen to you at that time was wait. Every woman wants to lose 10 pounds. So I went into the weight loss world, LA Weight Loss. I was a counselor there. But we were really limited on what we could do with people there. They really wanted you to just run through the numbers, get people checked in, sell bars, sell protein products, and keep them moving. So I wasn't really able to be effective that way. Long story short, I went back into the corporate sales world, did amazing in a dead market, but I hated it. And I felt like I was going back into that all about the money world, and that just made me feel gross, and it didn't make me, I wasn't fulfilled, and I was getting sad and angry and frustrated. So looking for another opportunity, I got into jewelry sales, direct sales with Cookie Lee Jewelry, and I could touch the heart of women through that. Mm-hmm. But it just didn't really pay the bills. I got a lot of recognition, won a lot of trips, but it didn't pay my bills. I was building a business, and the money wasn't coming. So I moved back into having people come into my home for health coaching again. But I didn't know this was called coaching. Coaching was not a word that you used back in 2007. Not like you do today. And so I was having women come to my house and leading them through the Best Life book by Bob Greene, Oprah Winfrey's coach. Mm. And just loved doing that, inspiring these women. Let's set goals. Let's do these things. And then I got turned on to Take Shape for Life. And I did that and made a lot of money. And then again, I felt like, well, it's kind of incongruent with what my personal values and beliefs are about nutrition, but it's making me a lot, it's paying the bills, unlike Cookie Lee didn't pay the bills. So again, I'm in this place of frustration that I have one, but not the other. So I went to life coaching school and got my degree or my certificate in whole person coaching. And I thought that I would work with women through that again. And I went through life recovery coaching, which would be anybody who wanted to enhance their life. But my heart was about recovery, not recovery, but sobriety, breaking the habit of misusing alcohol. But back then there was no vocabulary around this because it didn't exist. The only thing that existed was recovery or alcoholism and 12 steps, which I didn't do any of these things. After my first year, I walked away from Alcoholics Anonymous in my first year and never went back. In 2010, I submitted an audition video to Oprah Winfrey. And I said, I want to go around and interview people like me who have got sober and they didn't do it the traditional way, that they found their own way to do it. And I want people to know that it doesn't have to be one way. I didn't know that there could be another way, but I knew there had to be something. I wasn't an anomaly. I wasn't the only person in the world. So I, for the next 2 years after that, I really went back and forth to safety health coaching. Everybody knows it. It's acceptable. Everybody likes it. I can make good money. I really want to help these women who are drinking and want to change their relationship with alcohol. Again, relationship with alcohol wasn't a term that was commonly used. And in 2012, moving back from Georgia, I went to a workshop. And when I was sober, when I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was always super, super happy and super optimistic and like, man, I cannot believe this is my life. I get to do this sober. And I was going through 3 bankruptcies, losing my house. People came in and took the carpet out of my house. Vendors, people that I owed money to, came and ripped the carpets out of my homes, took out the light fixtures. This was my life. And I'm smiling through tears through all this, like, whatever, I'm sober, I am doing this. Wow. And they told me I was on a pink cloud. And the pink cloud syndrome is actually something that they say in AA, that you're feeling positive and you feel like you can do this life thing, and all of a sudden you wake up and you come crashing down and get drunk and could kill yourself. Well, instead of getting off the pink cloud, I stayed on the pink cloud. I rode out of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and I rocked and rolled. And in 2012, I opened up Pink Cloud Coaching. So,
wow. I always wondered the story behind the name.
Yeah, Pink Cloud. It's something that they talk a lot of crap about in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, that, oh, you're on a pink cloud, you're going to come crashing down. You think you got this, you don't got this. The disease has got you. And it's like, no, I'm out.
But see, that's interesting how they call it a disease, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as drugs. When you go to rehab, they give you, and I'm not saying this because I know this, but I heard Grant Cardone, I don't know if you know mm-hmm. him. Mm-hmm. He told a story about how the rehab, when you get out, you're given a lineup of pills because you have a disease. And you can't bounce back, and you're going to need this pills because otherwise you'll go right back to your old habits, something like that. But like, they call it a disease, and it's very interesting. And he says there's never been a test that it's a disease.
No, and if you read Holy Sober, you'll see where I push back against that whole theory. It's like diabetes is a disease. You can test for it. You can see it in the blood. Yes. Cancer's a disease. You can test for it. You can see it in the blood. You have all these other things that are diseases that you can test for, but you can't test for alcoholism. And they even say it's a self-diagnosed disease. Okay. So, wow. So they really put it into a medical situation to where it really shouldn't be, because then once it's in a medical situation and you have this incurable disease, not even just a disease, but it's incurable. So you have this incurable disease that will never grow weaker. It's only going to continue to get stronger no matter how long you abstain. Huh?
They believe that
Yeah. Oh,
wholeheartedly.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
see, I don't know that. And it's so empowering to even get that knowledge from you, because now I can potentially help others
Well,
with
yeah.
talking
Tell,
to
I
you.
mean, absolutely. Send them to my blog. I write all about this stuff, right? Send them to Holy Sober. But it's not, I can't say it's not a disease because the NIDA says it's a disease. The medical, I mean, insurances, it has to be a disease for insurances to pay for the treatments. And okay, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry. So they're not going away with the disease theory anytime
Right.
soon.
True.
However, what I work with is I look at the continuum. So you have normal drinking, social drinking, whatever you want to call it on this end, and then you have alcoholism on this end. And if you look up ism, it's actually, it's like a philosophy or it's a system or,
Wow.
yeah, so it kind of alcohol system. And it's an alcohol system, an alcohol theory, an alcohol philosophy. Oh, okay, got it. It's not a disease, it's a theory. Okay, off on my own tangent there. So we have a continuum, right? And so anybody who falls outside of this end, which is normal social drinking, they're automatically ushered to the alcoholism end. There's nothing in between. There's no consideration that, you know, this may be a stressful time in your life, or, you know, you have a wrong mindset to deal with this, or you need to get your hormones in balance, whatever. There can be a million reasons why you're misusing alcohol.
Yeah.
So instead of, I don't work with alcoholics. I work with women who want to break free from the need to misuse alcohol.
Wow.
So there's a need for them to use that alcohol. There's, you know, they're stressed or they're overwhelmed or they're lonely or they're tired or they're exhausted. That's their need. And so we look for another way to refocus that energy.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Because I think some people, or some women, that's our go-to, right?
Oh, it's the
Um,
best way to stop our heads from going a million miles a minute, especially those of us that are really go after it, right?
wow.
There's a lot of us, and I'll tell you that the majority of the women I work with, I would say all the women I work with, are really incredibly educated and incredibly successful in business. They're
Wow.
super, super sharp.
Wow. Now tell us about, how did you become an alcoholic?
Um, I signed up for a class and they said, "You want to be an alcoholic?" Sure. No, my whole family misused alcohol.
Got it.
Everybody. And so when I actually break this down in the Holy Sober book, but my grandmother's misused alcohol, my mother misused alcohol, and I learned that behavior too. I had my very first hangover at just 5 years old. So I learned what role alcohol played in our life. It played a role for celebrating. It played a role for when you're bored. It played a role for when you're upset. And so that's your go-to. And so I didn't become an alcoholic. I learned how to misuse alcohol.
Wow. So you don't believe in the terminology alcoholic.
Nope, I don't use it at all.
You believe in the misuse of alcohol instead,
Yes,
is
I
what I'm
think
trying to
if
capture.
if you misuse alcohol, and I would say most of the people who identify as an alcoholic probably aren't. And one thing one of the ways that I actually qualify my clients is, do you drink and drive? Do you put yourself in danger or others in danger? If you do, you're outside of the realm of me being able to help you. If you are making conscious choices where you know you've got to take Billy to the doctor so you're not going to get drunk, you still have some mental capacity there to make a conscious choice to do different. There we have something to work with. If
Wow.
you are going off the rails and getting drunk and have no idea how you ended up in jail, you're not a good fit for me. And I wouldn't be a good fit for you.
Wow. And where would you send that type of person to? Where would you
I
recommend
would
them to?
either send them to, research Alcoholics Anonymous or to a therapist. I have a couple of therapists that I really respect and admire. It really depends on the person.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is amazing, Teresa. And you know, with your journey, and I think a lot of women that are going through this uncovering of what do I really want, and the way that you described where you went from Coco Lee to the health and fitness industry, I think sometimes it misleads us, right? When we go through our segment our mind and tell ourselves, okay, I really want this. How did you, because you said pink cloud, but you had to go through a process to really
Yeah.
realize that, okay, that's it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it whether I'm going to make waves, which it sounds like you might be making waves with your Holy Sober book and the
Mm-hmm.
whole realm of ideas and things that you're bringing upon, upon to light.
Right. So I went to, again, I told you when I had moved to Georgia for a few years.
Mm.
And I came back to scout out a place, an apartment for us to rent. And while I was here, I attended a workshop, a weekend workshop for entrepreneurs. And in it, she had us going deep diving and what we wanted to do. And it just all the way, and it never even came up, Corrine. This never came up. But while I was at the end, when we got around in a circle and we made our claim to fame, what we're going to do, how we're going to move forward, the pink cloud came up. Pink cloud coaching. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go after. I'm going to help these people. And this is. I'm laying down the gauntlet right now, and I'm going after it. And I know that I have to push against an industry, right? Because Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps is the gold standard. Mm-hmm. You will hear people that'll say, "Oh, that's her ism," or "She's going to end up drunk." Well, whatever. There are people that are adamant, and they have to believe that their system and their process is right. That is their belief system. So if I'm right, that means that they have to be wrong, which is not true. Mm-hmm. But that's the way that they frame it. Mm-hmm. So I knew I was going to get a lot of hate and a lot of pushback. That took a lot of courage to step into that world. And I did. For the first few years, I would end up in tears with all the hate mail I would get on Facebook and stuff.
Wow.
But you know what? It helped me sharpen my pencil and learn how, and it taught me grace, and it taught me compassion. It taught me how to understand that this is their life. This is their live or die moment. Mm-hmm. And when they're reading that they don't have to be an alcoholic and that they may be able to learn to moderate their drinking, then that goes against everything that they believe about this disease that's inside them waiting to kill them. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that scares them. Because what if she's right?
Wow.
And so when I was able to learn and respond to them with compassion and grace and understand that just because they're right doesn't make me wrong, and just because I'm right doesn't make them wrong, they kind of went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. With your previous answer that you said, when they don't qualify to work with you, when they're at that severe part of their, misuse of alcohol, you even said that I'll recommend them to go to AA. Like, it's almost like it's a collaboration for you versus trying to prove them wrong.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is, and always has been. I understand that there are lots of people who have been incredibly successful with AA, and if it wasn't for AA, they wouldn't be here today. But I know more people who have failed through AA and who have went out and got back drunk. Most of the people that I shared space with in my first year when I went to AA for 6 months, most of them went back out drunk. Some of them are in prison, and it's heartbreaking. And almost all the marriages have dissolved. And I mean, AA, it's good for some people, but it's not good for everybody.
What I love about what you're doing, though, is the way that a lot of these programs work that exist now are based upon how severe, and wait until it becomes super severe to actually help people. And what I love about your program is you don't have to get that far for you to get help.
Well, what I really want is, because I think women, like for me, several years before I got sober, before I had to get sober, before I ended up with, if you read Holy Sober, you'll read about Prince Harming and how he beat the crap out of me. I mean, pummeled my face. He took my, I had $2,000 in debt when I met him. I was over $500,000 in debt when he left, and he emptied the bank account and left me with this business, this construction business. I had no idea. I'm totally responsible for this. I made the choices to get into that position, but I still had a wreckage to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had I had somebody to help me process and take charge of my relationship with alcohol the years before, when I went out looking, the only option was for me to identify as an alcoholic. The only option was for me to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I wasn't ready for that. That wasn't a good fit for me. So I'm hoping that as people are aware of what I offer, that they'll start, okay, let's start this process. Let's get a hold of this before it gets a hold of me.
Wow. So you control it before it controls you. And
you take charge of it. Yep.
Wow. Tell me one success or two, because I'm sure you have a lot of clients,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a couple of success stories that really stands out for you and hit you hard and hit a string in your heart. Because there's always, when we work with people, there's clients that are tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are clients that are just so ready and open.
Mm-hmm.
And there are clients that maybe was tough, but you got through them and they actually broke through. Like the breakthrough clients, our stories are probably the ones that really hit you right here in the heart. And you don't have to say names. You can just say examples.
Right. I can't say names. That's just part of my rule book. But it depends on what you're measuring as success. Success to me is any woman who is able to take charge of her relationship with alcohol and not proceed down the continuum down to alcoholism. Mm. But what really pulls at my heartstring, I would have to say, is Susie. And I will use Susie because she's going to be in my next book. But she called me and she says, look, I'm having this problem. I went and my medical system wants to go ahead and admit me into outpatient, but I don't think that's the right fit. I don't think that's right for me. And so I went through a few of the questions. I have very specific qualifying questions. But one of my questions is are you happy? Mm. And most people say, yes, of course I'm happy. Everything's fine. Well, then why are you calling me? And then the next question is, well, what do you want? Mm. And when she said, when I asked her that, all of a sudden it got really quiet. And then I heard that she was crying. And she says, I have a great house. I have a great husband. I have these kids. This is what I designed. This is the life that I designed. How could I want for anything else? And you could feel that guilt that was all over her. Wow. The long and the short of it is, and it took us a little while for her. Here's the thing is that most women, by the time they come to me, they've done this great research on what, do I have a drinking problem? And they get all these answers. Of course you have a drinking problem. Please provide us your insurance information so we can get you into treatment. Wow. And so they've already downloaded all this information. Yes, you're an alcoholic. It's a disease. You're never going to be able to get rid of it. If you have family members that have it, then you have it, which is not true. Yeah, so we could go over that too. So once I can get through that, and I'm not asking them not to believe that, but let's put that aside. Mm-hmm. And so I have a 4-week assessment process. And we work from the outside in. But we were able to identify how she was bored to death. We're talking about a master's here. This woman knows how to use her brain. And her kids are going off to school. She's a housewife. And all she's got to do is drink. Wow. So we put some things into place with her to go out and test the world out. What would you like to do? And she's like, well, I have no idea, because you have to understand that when we're growing up in this country, we have these check boxes. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have the nice car. I'm going to have the nice house. I'm going to have the kids. Oh, crap. Now what? Who am I?
It's so true.
Right? And so we had to go through some tests, what do you want to do? How do what do you want to be when you grow up? And what makes you on fire? And what did you enjoy when you were younger before these damn kids came along? But, it took some time, but now she's thriving. She's been thriving for over 4 years. And,
wow.
and it's, to me, that's a huge success, because she didn't have to download and become an alcoholic. She didn't have to spend the rest of her life going into meetings. She doesn't have that shame and that guilt or that fear looming over her anymore. And she still moderates her drinking.
Wow.
So to me, that's a huge success.
That is a success. That's amazing how you said masters and she can think for herself, but yet she couldn't figure out what she wants.
We all need help sometimes.
Yes.
We all need help. I hire coaches, and I'm a great coach.
Especially women too.
We need that outside, that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Coaches have coaches.
That's right.
I know a lot of coaches that have coaches. And some of them even have 3 coaches.
I think if we're good coaches, we have coaches.
Right.
Right? Because we don't know everything. How could we possibly know everything? Okay, when you know everything and you don't have anything else to learn, you might as well just die. Because that's it. We're not learning and growing anymore. We're done.
Right?
Right.
Wow. So how do you meet these women that you're helping, other than, I'm sure your website,
My website is the number one way that women find me, because I've been doing this since I've been doing Pink Cloud coaching since 2012. I have a pretty good SEO.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only life coach that's doing it. Or, well, I think there's some other life coaches that are coming up now. There's a lot of people coming on board now. But I'm the only one that doesn't talk about recovery and alcohol. I don't use all this traditional vocabulary. But Facebook, I get a lot of people through Facebook. Yeah,
me too. It's amazing. Social media has changed the game for me.
Yeah.
You said life coaching that focuses on this part, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you consider yourself as a life coach?
Nah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I love your face when you said that.
It makes sense. I mean, but I don't know. Life coach. Yeah, I think I'm a life coach. My certificate says I'm a certified personal coach.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of kinds of coach, and I think if I were to categorize yours, would be a life coach, but even more specialized into that misuse of alcohol coaching type thing, right?
Google puts me as a life and alcohol coach.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
Interesting.
They're the one that changed it. They changed it on my Google account. So I just left it. I mean, that's easy. They find me.
Wow. So you've been doing this for 6 straight years, solid years.
Yes.
How were your first couple years? And you mentioned a lot of hate, you stirred a lot of pots and all that good stuff. But tell us a little more detail when it comes to that, because you're obviously a trailblazer in this industry.
I am.
Yes.
I am. And my heart is on fire for it. And I think that's the key. I don't do this for a paycheck. I do this because I want women to break free. I want them to have the most delicious life that they can possibly imagine. And I want to help them imagine the best life possible. Because without that imagination, without that creation, it's never going to happen. Right. They're just going to keep going through the same motions, and they're going to keep falling back to default mode and automatic pilot, and which means they're going to get drunk, which means they're leaving a whole lot of life on the table, and that breaks my heart.
Wow.
But the first few years, like I said, I don't know if I said it while we were being recorded, but there was no vocabulary for this. This was unheard of. This didn't exist. The only thing that existed was recovery. And there was some recovery coaches, and there's some sober coaches, but that implies that you have to be sober, which I agree with, but sober is not abstinence. Sober just means you're in charge. Sober means that you can have a glass of wine and you don't need to go get drunk. But that's not what people understand sober to be. So it was really hard to overcome that challenge of how do I reach these people when I don't even have a vocabulary? This has never existed before.
Wow.
Right. So it was frustrating. It
Wow.
was, there was a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of, husband scratching his head. Are you sure about this? And why are you going through this? And why are you, why don't you just get a job? Why don't you just go back to health coaching, So not only did I have the society coming after me with torches to burn the witch, but the heretic, but I had my husband, going, he's feeling bad for me because I am getting beat up out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, why are you doing this? And he doesn't understand how
Right.
passionate I am about this. It's hard to put it in words.
Right.
And putting together a system, a process. So thankfully I kept journals. I did journals ever since I got sober.
Wow.
So I had a lot of information that I was able to go back and say, oh, this is how I did this.
Wow.
I went after life. I didn't just sit around and say, oh, I'm an alcoholic, and go to a meeting and talk about how awful my life has been. I put it aside, stopped talking about it, and went after life.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
So
I'm so proud of you. That is, to excel in an industry is one thing, but to start an industry is pretty much like a new thing that you started.
Yeah, it's carving out a little niche. And you can look at it as it's starting a brand new industry, but I think it's more of creating a little wedge, a precursor to. It's the big, you start here, then you can go there, right?
Yeah. But I always say, unless you take steps, you won't find the answers, because the answers always show up if you're courageous enough.
Right.
And so the way that you have taken your steps, even though it was in the wrong direction, like the health coaching and the jewelry, somehow it still led you here.
And like I said, again, I don't know if this was when it was on recording, but every step I took was necessary to create who I was becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm still going to take missteps. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to make mistakes because I'm willing to. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to say, okay, go with it. I just started a love and worship yoga class to help people kind of reconnect with God. People who like me, I don't know about this God thing. I don't think I'm worthy of this. And it's like, I don't want to preach to them. I just want to connect them with space and yoga and give them an opportunity to explore it.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? And so this is kind of outside of my realm, although spirituality is very important in being healthy and whole. But I'm being obedient and I'm going after this thing that's calling to me, and it's taking a risk. It's putting it out there. So because right now Christians aren't the most loved people.
I know. And so I saw that you said that you just got your certificate.
I did.
And I just started doing yoga because I do this quick stretch, and I'm like, my body's getting used to these stretches and I need to challenge it. I do a 20-minute session in the morning after I wake up. It actually wakes me up really good. And that's before my coffee. That's just to wake me up, is I do the 20-minute real, just a compressed yoga. And then at night before I go to bed, I do another 20, but a lot lighter, it's like a routine just to slow my emotions down so I can go to bed. And it's like when a baby has a routine before bed.
That's so good.
But so I had to learn to do it. And it's you just got to do it. It's something that I think you and I have in common, is that we're not afraid to be judged. We're not afraid to make mistakes. We just own our mistakes if we make mistakes, right?
Right. And we learn from them. Yeah. We look at them, we observe them and say, okay, so that went kind of wonky. is there anything to take from it before I totally trash it?
Right, right.
But you have to have that willingness, I think, and you do have to have courage. It does take courage, and you could say you have tough skin, but I cry, and I wouldn't say I'm tough. I would say I'm willing and I'm courageous, and my desire, my goal, what I'm doing this for is so important. I couldn't imagine leaving these women hanging.
It's your burning desire.
It really is.
It's such, I could see it through the Zoom that we're doing. When you talk, you could see that your face illuminates and just gets excited about it when you talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just think about just offering this woman this gift of, you don't have to suffer anymore. This is freedom, man. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely delightful to watch them open up.
Now, question for you. Do you still drink?
No, I don't.
I don't,
and I'm not afraid of it. I'm sober because I want to be sober. I'm not sober because I have to be sober. And there's a very big difference there. But I don't drink, not because I'm afraid of it or think that if I drink one, this monster's going to come alive and take me down. I don't drink because I don't have time for it in my life. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle. I'm up sometimes at 2:00 in the morning working, and I have a lot to do.
Me too.
I know. I have a lot to do. So, whenever you drink, if you drink more than a drink, and even just one drink can slow you down. It can take that spark out of you. And so it just doesn't fit in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always thinking. I never slow down. Or I guess I would say I slow down, but I just never stop. I never turn it on. Off.
And I don't think that's a bad thing, as long as you're putting some balance in your life. And you are, with the deep breathing and the yoga. And that's a great calming effect to your body. You have to give your body rest. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with those of us that are on fire and constantly thinking and creating new programs and creating new ideas and following dreams. It's like, what else are you supposed to do in life?
Right? I was just talking about this with a friend of mine about when you're not creating, you're bored. And when you're bored, you start thinking about other stuff that's not good for life. Not just alcohol, but,
worries start popping up, right? And you start obsessing about things. You're giving yourself space. There's empty space there that you're not productive with.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with downtime. You should have downtime, but you shouldn't have bored time.
Yeah. So what pushed you you said you wanted to connect people with your yoga and your, why yoga?
Yoga, actually, I went to get certified for yoga because I think you can connect to somebody's subconscious much quicker through movement than you can just sitting like this and having a conversation or just sitting on the phone. Most of my clients I do on the phone because they're all over the world. But I think when you're actually putting them in breathing exercises or poses, asanas, that they are kind of distracted. So when you start asking them questions, you'll come up with something totally different than if somebody has time to sit there and think about it. So that's why I actually got certified in yoga, because I want to be the best that I can be. And sure, I could have just led them through some stretches, but I wanted to know what I was offering was very good material. So I went and got certified to use yoga as a tool for my already thriving practice.
Right.
But now I had that call put on my heart I want you to create space for me. And so I said, okay.
So do you have a yoga studio now?
I don't. I'm actually using a gym. A gentleman has invited me to come in and use his gym for this yoga practice I start this Sunday. But I am opening Pink Cloud Coaching live in September.
So are you doing that through a platform like this when you're doing the coaching, or is that like face-to-face?
All of my coaching is done on the telephone. Rarely do I use Zoom because it gives women an added sense of anonymity. They can be a little more courageous and brave when they're not looking you eye to eye.
Mm.
And a lot of them will go through tears at times. Not that I'm opposed to it. I have done Zoom, but for the most part, it's all telephone.
Wow.
But when I open my office in September, I'm going to be offering a lot of workshops where you can get that Holy Sober support and the Holy Sober 28-day resolve and Holy Sober yoga.
That's awesome, dude.
Fun
Wow.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
you're packaging all these stuff and it's
Yeah.
going to be a local workshop.
It will be. I will have local workshops, yes. But I'm looking, and I will tell you, my big dream is to make this my flagship space and to be able to teach other people my process and have them open up offices throughout the country.
Or the world.
The world. Why not? Why not? Absolutely.
The world is our playground now, you know?
It
And
really is. Now with all, you're right. You're absolutely right. Why do I think so small?
no, you don't. Are you kidding? Have you heard yourself? Sometimes we have that doubts, right? We go through that doubts. Teresa, what can you tell women that are wanting what they want, but they're lost? You know how you were thinking about, and you go through this process of this, and I myself went through it. And I think my problem was I didn't have a community. I didn't know like all these little communities existed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the only community, like when you're a drug addict, you go to a rehab, right? When you're an alcoholic, you go to AA. I didn't know there was a community of, some of them are just all women. Some of them are collective between men and women that are just like cheering on each other, pushing each other. My only outlet was reading books.
Right.
And I think books are amazing, but the whole buildup of courage, it took me a long time to really have the courage because, you know, I have to sit down, read the book, things of that nature. But plugging in the community, if I know what I know now, and coaches like yourself, I mean, I probably would have just cut the cord faster and went for it, right? What can you tell someone like me when I was thinking of, okay, I'm not where I want to be and I want to go here, but I'm scared?
There's a couple ways of thinking of it, because while I was going through trying to formulate the pink cloud and what all the inner workings of the pink cloud, I had a mentor, somebody who was already incredibly successful in her own business. She's a globetrotter, and she supported me and cheered me on through it. And she was a good friend. But she also, you know, pushed back and said, I don't know, I think you might offend some people if you do that. So maybe think about rewording it. And so I think finding somebody that you really respect and somebody that you would like to grow into and kind of follow them and you know, do what they do. I asked that question in my assessment: who inspires you? You know, and find that person. And it doesn't mean that you have to be like them, but emulate them. Go towards them, becoming like them, and finding yourself, your own original. But you got to start somewhere, and you have to have something to work with, something to help you create that new idea. So if you look at somebody who inspires you, and I'm sure you inspire many, and they look at you and they're like, they follow you and they listen to how you're showing up in the world, and they, you know, seeing how you work with people and handle yourself, and then they can emulate part of that and then shift, you know, tweak it to what is natural and authentic to them. So find somebody that you admire and that inspires you, and watch them and learn from them. But also, you know, there's so many opportunities to plug into community, and it doesn't have to be to build your business. It can be just so you can be around other forward thinkers.
That's
so
true.
Get mobile, because I will tell you this, that a lot of us hide behind, and I did this for a couple of years, we hide behind the screen, and that's not doing you any favors.
Yep, that's what I did. I hid because I thought I could take care of it. Right. And I did, but I think that I could have probably taken care of it with a tribe better. faster,
Yes.
you know. So what,
And your tribe, and I just want to, because I have a tribe, but I have a tribe, all my, my tribe's not all one community. I do have a good, strong community, but I also, that's one collective force. But my tribe is actually a bunch of misfits from different areas, right? They all have these amazing, unique characteristics, and they are my tribe separately. So I have this separated tribe, and then I have this collective tribe.
yeah.
So I just want to offer that make your tribe whatever you need it to be to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Where would one, if they didn't know you, because obviously they're going to know you, but if they did not know you and they just want to start with one tip of how to control their misuse of alcohol, what would that one, you probably have a million tips.
The number one, and it seems like it's elusive and a lot of people, is what do you want? It's really about what do you want, and really break out the paper and ask yourself that question 100 times, 1,000 if it's necessary. But keep asking yourself that question and go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Wow.
What do I want? And it doesn't mean just because you have all your boxes checked, like I shared about Susan, is that there's still something in her that needed self-fulfillment, to reconnect to herself. So look at it in that regards. Not I want new shoes for my kids, or I want to pay my mortgage, or I want a new car. What do you want to feel whole and as the woman that you are?
Wow. You talk about kids, and I know you have how many kids?
I have 2 boys.
2 boys. I have 2 boys too. That's
They're
awesome. If your boys were listening to this, what would you tell them?
I didn't think you could do it.
I warned you.
That's, my boys, here's the thing. My boys know I love them with all my heart. And everything I've done, when you read Holy Sober, you'll see I was using crack after I had Cody, and I chose Cody above all else. And I was a teenager. My boys are my heart. Everything I do, even today, I look at the legacy I want to leave them. I want them to be inspired by what their mother is willing to do to make a change in this world. So I want my boys to know, go after it. Whatever it is, whatever your heart's longing for, go after it. Because I'm not going to be here forever. But when they think about me, I want them to be proud. I didn't think you could do it.
What, I always pull the rug under you right when you're happy, and
you talk to I'm still happy. It's just my boys.
Like not crying happy. You make me cry. What is the most important lesson you learned from your mom?
My mom is why I do this work. My mom is why she is. I was telling my sister today, every woman I speak to, I see my mother. And my mom was somebody who was a teenager, and she got pregnant when she was 15. And she had been disregarded and disposed of too many times to count, beaten and raped. And I saw fierceness in her when it came to her children. And if somebody would have just sat her down and said, Judy, what do you want? What pain are you feeding this alcohol? How can I help you? I think her life could have been different. She's still here, but she's got Alzheimer's, and finally she's got some peace in her life. But my mom taught me how to love deeply. Oh. And watching her be fierce with those kids taught me to be fierce in all ways.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it. I love that part of every single one of my guests where they don't just talk about themselves, they talk about other people in their lives.
Yeah.
Because it really reveals the human in you and shows off where is all these fire coming from, right?
Right.
It comes from something, and it doesn't just come from us. It comes from many different directions, and it's a combination of everything that you love, you respect, you want to make a change on, you honor, all that good stuff. So my last question for you before we say goodbye, but before I do that, is that I want to thank you for everything that you're doing to make a change in this world.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, that I know you. You know, you don't necessarily automatically value a connection until you look back and you're like, wow, this person was presented to me at that moment. And I'm one too that are just now reconnecting with my relationship with God, because I was lost for a long time. You know, and life has its way of removing all that from you, when it starts happening, when you're supposed to stick with it even more and double down on it when life's happening, right? Anyways, but you are magnificent and doing all these amazing things, and I see your book when you post it and I see all that, but I have not really heard everything about your journey, and I'm sure this is not everything, but I cannot wait to read your book. And I'm excited to read it. So I want to commend you for all your drive and things that's making an impact because of you. So thank you for being Teresa. Right?
Thank you, Corrine.
You're welcome. What is your definition of a mother hustler? That's my last question.
Mother hustler. I like that. I like that name. What is my definition of a mother hustler? Somebody who just, you know, they no holds bar, and they just go after it. And you know, one of the things, one of my groups is called Gals, going after life sober. And it's really encouraging women to go after it. And that's what a mother hustler is. Somebody who just goes after life, leaving nothing on the table. Like if I go in and I sit down in front of the TV, that little voice inside me saying, what else could you do to make a difference in this world? That's a mother hustler.
It's awesome. I love it because I believe in the same thing. Yeah. And sometimes we think we're this little person in this little town and we don't think we can change the world, but really we can change the world.
Oh my gosh. Every single one of us. And it may not be one of us in the front row that's doing all these things and taking on these bullets, right? These arrows. It may be the very boy that we are raising and we're teaching to have love and respect. Yes. And that boy may be the leader, but it was our part to show them how to be strong warriors in order for them to fulfill that prophecy.
To pave the way.
Yeah, so we're all doing our part. 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It was awesome.
You're awesome. I can't wait to see where you take this, man. I'm really excited for you, Corrine. You're amazing.
Thank you. Takes one to know one.
Yes, it does.
All right, my dear. See you later, and I'll see you around social media.
All right, bye.
Bye.